Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is September 16th. Happy second day of Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm Julie Alexandria here in Slam Diego with Jennifer in New Jersey and Ozzie Jr. in Chicago. How are you guys? Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. Good, good. How are you?
Good, good. We have lots to get to. We're going to be talking about the playoff picture, the playoff bubble. The Mets are off the market like a hot girl in her early 30s. And and we're going to be talking about everything that we have coming up for Hispanic Heritage Month here. First of all, let's just kick it off. We've been celebrating. It started yesterday. Hispanic Heritage Month is an entire month long. It's between September 15th to October 15th, and this entire time, La Vida Baseball, check in with us because we are going to be rolling out some wonderful content, interviews, and really great stuff, videos and written content that you got to check out. Jennifer, you just did an interview with Ronald Acuna Jr., and we're going to check out that video right now, and then you can speak to it. Watch.
En esta última temporada hemos visto los latinos resaltar aún más ustedes los jóvenes, Acuña, Juan Soto, Tatis Jr. ¿Qué significa eso para ti que ahora se le está tomando más atención a ustedes como latinos?
Bueno, eso nos enorgullece a todos nosotros los latinos porque nosotros sabemos de dónde venimos y es bueno que nos tomen en cuenta y tengan eso ahí como principal, como algo principal para nosotros los latinos. Eso, como te digo, es algo que nos ayuda a seguir trabajando fuerte para los que vengan atrás de nosotros también sigan siguiendo esa dinastía.
Para ti, ¿qué significa ser un latino en el béisbol?
Eso significa mucho. De verdad que eso es algo grande para mí. Venir del pueblo donde vengo, del país donde vengo, Venezuela, siempre lo llevo en el alma y siempre trato de dar lo mejor de mí.
En esta última temporada. So there you have it, Ronald Acuna Jr. talking about how proud he feels to represent Venezuela and rep, his flag. He says that he always carries his flag in his heart, as many of the Latinos do. And one of the things that I wanted to get at when talking to a lot of these guys is the recognition that all of them are getting this year in particularly, and not necessarily just from MLB, but just from across like outside of just your general MLB fans. A lot of these players, a la Tatis Jr., have become more well known, and that's what we've always wanted, right? We've always wanted these guys to get the attention they deserve, and a lot of them throughout this month, we're going to see a lot of their reactions and responses to that question.
I love the fact that, these young players are realizing, we don't have Hispanic Heritage Month in Venezuela. We're Venezuela. We don't give ourselves a month. But I think that every time I talk to a young player, they don't realize when they come to the United States that they're not only representing their country now, but they're representing a whole culture. Everyone roots. I root for Dominican players like they were born in Venezuela because you always want them to do really well. So I love the fact that they're embracing it, that they understand the level of responsibility that they have, because now it's a whole community that kids are looking up to you. And, I realized that early on, Ozzie would always talk about early in his career, his fans in the States were never Venezuelans because there wasn't a lot of us. There was a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans and a lot of Mexicans. So I really love the fact that they embrace it and they're saying, we're here for the Latino community in the United States, and they understand that sense of responsibility at such a young age because, for most of these guys are not from here. They could care less. They're like, I'm just here to play, but they understand that they represent something to a kid at home that's looking at them and saying, wow, I could be just like that individual. Because I'm a true believer that in order for you to think that you can accomplish something, you have to look at someone that looks like you. I think that makes it easier. I think the hardest thing to break through is when you're the first to do something because no one's been there like you. So I think once you see that, I think it really motivates. And Latinos, a lot of times for someone like Acuna, they represent two communities. They represent, the Black community, they represent the Latino community. So good for him that he's taking that responsibility.
Absolutely. Representation matters. And for a young kid to see Ronald Acuna Jr. to be playing at the level he's playing at and to be creating and designing and do collabs with someone like New Era. Check out this hat that Ronald Acuna has. They're calling it a headpiece. I like that. We're taking it one step further. It's not just a hat, it's a headpiece. Check out this headpiece that Ronald Acuna designed in collaboration with New Era. It is on sale now. It's in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. Just really lovely.
Yeah, I dig it.
It'll do very well. It's very Ronald. That's all I gotta say. I love it. It's flashy. It's his style, and it's really cool. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be excited to rock it. It's got the Venezuelan flag, but I think it's again a way to represent because
there's a lot
like
the La Vida hats.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean,
indeed.
I don't have to.
But I think, you know what? I saw Grandstand here in Chicago, which is my favorite store to buy sports anything. And people now, that's something that you want to do with hats. You want to personalize it. Mm-hmm. The other day I had someone ask me, "Hey, dude, can you put 2 flags on the hat? Because I want to represent my American side and I want to represent my, wherever my heritage is from." So I really think that this is where we're at in baseball now. Like, people really want to, as Latinos, represent that we are happy that we're here in the United States and we love our country. Yes, we do, but we don't forget where we're from and we don't forget where our heritage comes from. And I think that's what it's all about. And I think that's super cool. I think that's something that for you to be able to represent, I dig it. I love it.
Yeah, I love that a platform and a company like New Era is giving him that opportunity to share his love for his heritage and for his culture and for his countrymen. Now, 40 years ago today, which was actually technically yesterday, but this week, Fernando Valenzuela made his MLB debut. Incredible, 40 years ago, something that I did not know. I was doing some research. I can't believe I didn't know this, but back in 2015, he was appointed by President Obama Presidential Ambassador for Citizenship and Naturalization.
He would be.
I miss those years.
You know what? He would be appointed. I think that the closest thing to Bartolo Colon back then was Fernando Valenzuela. Fernando Valenzuela is a guy that, when you look at his number, to me, I'm a little bit younger, but he's a myth, meaning he revolutionized the world of baseball in Los Angeles. He is the closest thing that you can get to a baseball immortal. And that season that he had and what was going on in the country and how, everyone would stop to watch this 19-year-old, because he was 19, just pitch in a weird way. And he basically transcended beyond Los Angeles. And then it just started getting better. Like, my dad played with Fernando, and Fernando was allegedly 55 years old. But he was actually older than that. So there's all these myths, like you look at his stats in the Mexican League and just things that he did afterwards. And, he played in a time where the guy spoke no English, nothing. I think it was the first time there was an actual translator, but everyone loved him and they fell in love with the player. And you look at him and he's just perfect. I felt like when he was 19, I always say, it looks like he just ate 10 tacos, had probably 6 or 7 beers, and just went out there and dominated. So I think, to me, he's a myth. He's one of the coolest people I think that have ever come across baseball, and he would be appointed by Obama in some, really cool role like that, because he is Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah, and I had the chance to speak to Yvonne Carrasco-Chalme, who we will have her interview up later, either this week or the following. But she was working with the Dodgers at the time. She worked with the Dodgers for 10 years in their media relations department. She's now with Wasserman Sports as a senior director in baseball. And she talked about that very moment of him working with the White House, because it allowed her as well to work with the White House. And she was the one in charge of sending out press releases and helping Fernando on that end. And she talked about how important that was to her as a young Latina, to be able to have that opportunity to be communicating with the Obama administration at the time. So it's something that impacted even, Fernando Mania and who he was, impacted now this younger generation of Latinos in this other way. And in so much, I think, even a much more important and valuable way to be able to work with the presidency in the United States of America.
Absolutely. He did that in partnership. Also was Jose Andres, the chef. Yeah. And he also had the opportunity to go. And also Dave Matthews. Interestingly enough, they chose Dave Matthews on that ticket as well. So really wonderful to see from then until now. Incredible. Just 19 years old and 319 days, according to Ilias Sports. On September 15th, 1980. He made that debut 40 years ago. Crazy.
And still one of the coolest people. I think if you have not watched our video, I think our team did a great job of his highlights with the music. It's so Fernando. But again, I think, this Fernando hasn't played in over 40, 30 something years in the big leagues. And when you see kids wearing his jerseys, he is still a staple, and I think he's still a huge part of the Dodgers and part of the culture. Like, it's part of, when Fernando Mania was, and I think that he was a big, big, big pillar in Latinos and in Mexican baseball and Major League Baseball. And I think that it's just awesome because, he was one of the first ones.
Yeah, so many Mexican Dodger fans that I know have attributed their fandom to him. That was the guy that I grew up watching. That was the guy that my parents watched. And that's literally how I learned baseball. So a man of mythic proportions. All right, and now moving on, the playoff picture, or should we say the playoff bubble, has been set by MLB, and the World Series will be held in the Rangers' new ballpark. Well, hey, it was built new this year. At least it'll be good for something. But the bubbles are such that no team will play at home after the first round in the best of 3 wild card rounds that starts the playoffs. The higher seed will host games at its home ballpark, but after that, the series basically disperses between Los Angeles, San Diego, Arlington, and Houston. So there's a lot to unpack here, but this is what the seed round, this is what the bracket will look like. And guys, I gotta say, just seeing this graphic that was released yesterday, I got excited.
It is, but it's so hard though, because the way they're setting up, like the whole home team's going to host. Right now, you don't know who the seeds are going to be.
Right.
So that part I did not understand. I also think that you cannot have home seeds because it gives you an advantage. So now this being announced, everyone's like, hey, this whole thing of winning the division does not matter. It matters, especially in the first round. But again, I think that Major League Baseball, they should have been thinking about this a while back. I literally feel like they woke up yesterday and they said, oh, by the way, this is due today. And they started putting things together. I really do. They really didn't. And I understand why, the whole, I understand why they want to have fans. If anyone thinks it's because they want fans to be there and watch, it's not. They want to make sure that they're serving their brands, and that there's issues with contracts, and they have to sell their vendors. And this is a little bit deeper than that. And I think fans will fly to go there. Again, if you want to do that, you could do that. But I really think that this puts a hinder on how do you prepare as a team? Because I think you're like, okay, am I going to play at home? Am I going to get the seed? How do you plan? I wish they would have said, you know what? First round is going to be here, second round here, third round here. It doesn't matter. Right. More of like everyone's set up. You're going like NBA style. Like, you're going to be there, and that's it.
A couple of things, right, on this, on how I want to know how they decided on which stadiums they were going to pick for this quote unquote bubble. Because if you were going to use California, why not just use the entire state of California and just keep it in one state? Because you have enough ballparks to do it in California. So I kind of didn't understand that. I would like to know the reasoning. Like, I want to know, how did you decide on what stadiums to pick and all of that? Then the other thing, as far as the fans go, and we've been talking about this all morning, is it really worth it? If you're going to be at, let's say, 20% capacity, is it worth it? And Ozzy, to your point, as far as, getting it in front of brands and your sponsors and all of that, but what about the money you have to spend with employees? You have to have vendors. You have to have people at the ticket stands. You have to have security, which I think would entail a lot more money. The city, you have to, there's so much that you have to invest in. That is it really going to help you? Are you really going to make money?
They're not making money. I don't think they will. I don't think, because I think they're trying to save more to the future and maybe any legality. But even just from the point of security, even if you have, let's say, you're playing at 20% capacity, just getting into the stadium. Yeah. They're going to have to, it's called a stress test. Okay. These machines of temperature, yes, they work with 10 people, but are they going to work when 20,000 people walk through? Those are things that, all go into logistics. And when you're doing,
and then is it really a bubble? It's not a bubble.
Exactly. And then this is the part that, again, I don't know how this, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how this disease works. I don't, but you're making players be in a bubble. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you're allowing fans to go to the stadium that are not in the bubble. Okay.
Right.
How do you control a player going into the crowd? Is the crowd going to be 10 feet away from the line?
Well, I would assume that
a fan jumps into the field. a fan jumps into the field and starts running around and tries to hug the opposite player. Like there's those
Oh
things.
my gosh, that would never happen.
You don't know. No.
Yeah, that would not happen. I don't think that would happen.
I would literally think if you're in a bubble, okay, and you're making the teams be in a bubble, the way to keep it safer is no fans in the stands. Okay, if you're really gonna go that far and you're gonna say that you're going that deep, it's worked so far. Okay, you're throwing in another variable of having fans come into the stadium in a time where you cannot cancel games and it hinders you. So I think if you wanted to do this plan of trying to play around with fans, you should have done it a month ago and started like putting in little by little and testing it out. But you're really going to start putting fans in the most important part of the season for teams. Just keep it how it is. Have guys play with empty stadiums. Make all your money on TV.
They're gonna have their families, right? They're like close, their spouses.
Well, my family's not going now, by the way. If fans are allowed, my family's not going. And if they are, you're staying in the bubble. Good, have fun watching it at the Hyatt, at the TV. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, if I was a player and it was just family and we're all in the bubble, great. You can come to the stadium, take the bus.
If there's fans,
if there's fans, my family's not going. If I'm the media, I'm asking, how am I covering this game? Do I have to share a bathroom? What's the access going to be like? Again, you have to put all these things in perspective. Whatever's working right now, the only thing that you would add to is the family part. And I love the fact that they're going to be there 7 days before. Again, each individual player will decide that as a family member and what you want to do. But I think bringing in fans, so much more can go wrong than right, okay? Because you're not playing in their home stadium. Again, the stress test part, I don't know how this is going to work logistically.
And people will be traveling.
And again, this is going to be, again, if you think that this is going to benefit average Joe and Bob and his family and 4 kids, you're completely mistaken. This is going to be guys that are flying in private plane, first class, people that can spend $2,000-$3,000 without even blinking an eye. Right. It's going to be catered to a really high end. It's going to be like a Kentucky Derby.
But there will be that group. There will be
that's what I mean.
But I'm saying, there will be that group of people that will fly Spirit.
Correct. And they'll pay the $2,000. No, and they will pay the $2,000. But I'm saying, like, it's not like you're going and saying we're doing this for the good of the fans. Like, if you want to do something for the good of the fans, no blackouts.
100%.
Oh, please.
For the playoffs, no blackouts.
Playoffs, no blackouts. No blackouts, por favor.
I have 2 teams in town. Like, please, no blackouts.
So it's going to be interesting because if you look at the schedule, and I'm literally looking at my calendar right now. So the regular season all pretty much ends on Sunday, September 27th. Okay, the 28th is an off day. It's Monday. 29th is the first day of the wild card. The 30th, that is going to be must-see TV all day baseball. That's when 8 teams are going to be going head to head for the wild card. That is going to be like, the Super Bowl of baseball that day. But you're right. Who is this really for? If the ALCS and the ALDS are going to be played in Southern California at 2 National League ballparks, who are you hosting? And are fans really going to turn out to see Oakland and Tampa Bay? Or, I mean, maybe the Yankees, if the Yankees, because, LA has a big New York contingent, but who knows if the Yankees will even get there. So the fact that they're doing this, it is much more for the sponsors. It's much more for corporate partnerships. If you are the brand rep for Anheuser-Busch, chances are you will get invited and you will have to stay away. I don't think when Manfred says that he's hopeful that fans can be in the stands, I don't think he means the actual physical stands. I think they're talking about outdoor sort of viewing decks for this, outdoor greenery areas. Just putting it.
I like that idea. If you do that, I've said it here in Chicago. If you do that, then you have to let it open up to other places. Here in Chicago, I tweeted about it. I said it would be really cool that if the White Sox got in, even if you don't let people in the stadium, set up a huge tailgate and make it, because fans want to go there. It's been a long time. Again, this is a season of crazy.
Yeah, everybody's been doing a couple of concerts, right? Have been drive-in concerts, right? And you have drive-in movie theaters. Why not set up your actual parking lot as if it were a drive-in theater? You have a big, big, big screen outside, and fans can watch from the top of their cars, from the roofs of their cars.
Financially, though, I think you're also hurting the cities. I know here, for example, the Chicago Cubs would benefit a lot if a playoff was hosted at home. All those bars, all those restaurants, even if you're following the quarantine. So I think in an individual city standpoint, I think that was money that you're looking at saying, okay, maybe people are really going to come out, and even if we have these rules of separation and social distancing, they still will come out to watch the game. So again, you're not benefiting that city and that team for working hard and getting there on a financial standpoint. You're benefiting certain places and locations. And again, so and again, Manfred has when he says fans, we don't know what he means. It could be corporate people standing outside. And again, right now it's all shut down. So by him saying fans are allowed, it could be outside, it could be just events. Time will tell. Hopefully, out of all this, my goal is that no player gets sick during the quarantine, during the playoffs. I really would hate to see a big name guy or a role player or somebody that's important to that team go down because of COVID, not be able to play with his team, and that affecting their chances of being in the playoffs and going deep.
Absolutely. Really, and of course, and the Wildfires also presenting possible.
No, that's another one. Yeah, that's another.
That's a whole other thing. They're saying that Phoenix could be the backup area if the air quality it basically declines here in Southern California between LA and San Diego. For us, we haven't seen direct sunlight in 2 weeks. So
wow,
I don't know
that's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, our cars outside are covered in ash every morning.
So does it make sense that they even included the state of California?
I think that decision was made before these wildfires.
Correct. Like got as bad as they did. And yeah, I think
they're still raging.
Yeah, I think it was Ramon Laureano who said something about along the lines of him being, a young player and he shouldn't be gasping for air. And he was. And we all know if you have asthma, I mean, this has got to be the worst right now for you. So yeah, I mean, that air quality condition, that situation is really, really tough. And I know that California is really trying to get it under control. But it's tough. It's tough.
Already impacted the Oakland A's up in Northern California. The San Francisco Giants and the Seattle Mariners have all had games either moved or postponed.
Well, even here on the East Coast, the smoke has been coming over here. They've reported air quality issues because of from all the way over there. It's coming all the way over here.
Alaska.
I mean, it's impacting everybody.
We need to stadium in Alaska at this point.
Oh my gosh. All right. Really quick. Some big news, speaking of New York, billionaire Steve Cohen reaches an agreement to purchase the majority ownership of the New York Mets. A new day is coming, my fans in Flushing. A new day, honey, because 2008, when the Madoff scandal took a huge chunk of revenue and investment property from the Wilpons, obviously their team roster and the team bank account was certainly affected. And they didn't even make the top 10 when it came to payroll for the Mets. So now a new day is on the horizon, although this deal is contingent on 23 of the 30 MLB owners agreeing and approving this move, which I can't imagine that they wouldn't. Steve,
only 23? That's pretty good.
Only 23 out of 30, yeah. So they have to approve. They haven't approved it yet, but they have to approve it. And then the sale will go through. Official sale, $2.4 billion. The team was estimated at 2.6. Steve Cohen got a deal. 2.4. This will go down in history as the largest sale of a team. He now becomes, or will become, the second wealthiest team owner in all of sports, second only to the owner of the Clippers. But Steve Cohen, man, making a play. I love it because he was already a minority owner of the team. He is a lifelong Mets fan. And if you look at Mets Twitter, y'all are fired up.
Yeah.
The only thing that can happen is that Steve Cohen, something happens in his investigation with the SEC and he goes away, which I think he won't. And that would be something very Met to happen. But I think that he's a fan, and I hope that he surrounds himself with really good baseball people. He has a good manager in his team. He's got a lot of great talent. They said they would have put it together. I think from an owner standpoint, I don't see why they would say no, because I don't think a lot of people have that type of cash, especially in the economy today, to put out 2.4. What that means is if the Mets sold for 2.4, every other owner is saying, okay, now I know what my franchise probably could sell for if I wanted to sell it. Everyone's value just went up a little bit. So I think that from an owner standpoint, it makes sense for them to let Mr. Cohen in. And I really
Who has $2.4 billion?
He does. It's called finance.
He's a hedge fund owner.
I know, but it's just like mind-boggling to me.
I think it's funny that there's a guy with that much money that loves baseball that much, because he could literally buy anything that he wanted. But he is a big baseball fan. Again, I think that you have to enjoy that as an owner, because when you're a fan base, you know that wins and losses to him are a little bit more personal. Okay, he's not doing this to make money, meaning he can make money in a million different ways that he knows how to. So this for him is going to be, I own the Mets. It's like becoming a knight back in the day. Like, it gives him prestige. He is in Major League Baseball, and he might be able to bring his team a championship. I know as a fan, as a person that loves sports, if I had enough money like that, I would make a purchase of a team and then be like, I am going to buy myself a ring, meaning put a team together and be the guy that brings that championship to the Mets. The Mets are, people don't realize, the Mets are obviously in New York, so they're always going to be the second team, but they have an amazing fan base. When that team was rolling and they were doing good, they ran baseball, and it's a fun team.
Yeah,
Beautiful stadium. So he knows the potential that's there. He knows that the Mets at one point ruled New York, and he wants to get them back there.
I was watching one of the Mets classics yesterday. And shout out to Keith, Ron, and everybody at like I think one of the best broadcast teams, English language, is the Mets. They do a really good job. But I was listening to them, and I mean, it was like I was in the kitchen cooking, and I could hear the game in the background, and Mike Pelfrey, Jose Reyes, like Yohan Santana. Like, I'm listening and I'm like, oh my God, like those were the days.
And those were our years, girl.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's like, wait, let me guess. That had to be a game. I'm going to give you some years now because you threw out those names of Yohan Santana and Mike Pelfrey. I'm going to say that was 2009. That was
It
the
was
first year. 2009, 2010?
Yeah, it was like around that time. I think it was one of those games, and I was like, oh my goodness! Like, literally when I started, I'm like, holy cow!
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, that fan base, that energy that you could feel in the. I mean, I was in the kitchen and I was feeling that. I was like, oh my gosh, wow!
I've been there. I've been. You know, the Mets unfortunately had the Braves in their division, but I've been to playoff baseball, National League Championship Series in New York Mets, in Old Met Stadium. Fans bring it. You know, it's an exciting town. When they're winning, and they expect a lot. I think that there's just a lot of passion from their fans. I think that it's time for them. Again, a lot of things have been unfortunate for them, but I really think that with this money, I think it gives them stability where you know where the franchise is going. I really think they have a great, young, talented manager. They need to figure out a couple things with their rosters and just make smart moves. And moving forward, I think by having someone at the top from a leadership role will give the Mets fans a little bit more of hope. Because they're not too far. They're not too far from where they need to be. So it's good for baseball that a gentleman like this is allowed to become an owner.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Very, very hopeful. A new day is shining. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We appreciate it. We leave you now with this story because I just thought this was so great. Of course, we are in the age of Zoom learning and remote learning with our kids, our nieces, our nephews. So in Philly, in North Philly, where some middle school and high schoolers got a wonderful welcome surprise from Phillies pitcher Hector Neris, who gave a little speech about how baseball was so integral into his life and why it was important. Education was important. He graduated high school in the Dominican Republic, and now he plays for the Phillies. And he gave these kids a surprise and was able to talk to them about the importance of staying in school. So awesome. And that's going to do it for our edition of La Vida Baseball. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.